All right, Billy, Texas A&M going to go on the road to play South Carolina this weekend. I mean, the Gamecocks can be anyone in the conference. They could lose to anyone by 30 points, right? Like, that's sort of the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Right now, the line, -2.5, Texas A&M. What's the Aggies' game plan going to be? Are you guys going to start the young Marcel Reed at quarterback, or are we going to get a surprise and Coach Elko goes back to Connor Wegman? I mean, to your point, I don't think you guys beat LSU unless Marcel Reed comes in.
No, I don't either. And I think the LSU fans that are listening do, some of them probably need a little reminder that when you give up like 23 yards rushing and you run for 240, the Aggies tailbacks had 100 yards rushing or so at halftime. It wasn't like all they did. They physically took over that football game. And if had they gotten 3 turnovers, maybe Connor Wigman does help them win that game 24-23. I mean, a lot of those drives were short, but there's no doubt that Marcel Reed led to that explosion, which was 4 touchdowns, 4 possessions. He was incredible. Just to play the way he did in those 3 games, come off the bench, play the way he did in that atmosphere from behind Saturday night, it was an all-time performance by a young quarterback and a rapidly improving young quarterback. I think you have a hard time not going with him in this one, but they've also been real, I think, attentive to what the matchup is versus run, cut it loose down the field. And I think that's why they started Connor against Missouri, and that one paid off. We'll see. We'll see how it goes this week. I think you'll probably see them split reps. I mean, if you're just asking me what I expect, I just think the way the team responded to that, the energy level, all of those things, that would be hard for me to just kind of give back with such a big game. Because like you said, South Carolina seems a little schizo, but if you really think about it, like what they beat LSU if Lenore Sellers doesn't get hurt, in my opinion, not to mention the pick 6 run back that could have iced the game, and it was the block behind the play, which was the right call, but as you guys know, that's not the football we grew up with, but we used to love those blocks back in the day if you could get them, especially on the quarterback. But if Sellers doesn't get hurt, I think South Carolina wins that game. We saw how close they were to winning in Bryant-Denny. The only game where they really came out and got beat up was against Ole Miss. So, I mean, I think this is a really good team. They're coming off a bye. It's at night. It's homecoming. I think this is the best defensive line A&M's faced all year. It's going to be a really tough one for the Aggies. But look, what are we talking about? Are we talking about them trying to meet Billy Lucci's prediction at 9-3 and exceed other people that thought they were going to go 7-5 or 8-4? Or are we talking about A&M seeing an opportunity now that they've created for themselves with this win last week and that win over Missouri? I think they're 2-0 against top 10 teams in the last 3 weeks, like roughly 80-33 score. They've won 4 or 5 SEC games by double digits. You're playing for something bigger. Forget that it's year one. Forget that, this is not an elite team when you sit there and watch them. They're playing for something unexpected, something bigger, and the opportunity for them is right now. So, hey, guess what? It's going to be hard, and I'm here to tell you, and you guys know this, going to Auburn in a couple weeks is going to be hard too.
Oh, yeah.
And Texas is going to come in here, and that's going to be 60-minute war. But we're talking about, are you good enough to represent Texas A&M in Atlanta against Georgia or Texas or Tennessee or whoever? Are you good enough to win the first SEC title in school history? Are you good enough to get in the playoff and win games? That's what we're talking about now. So they've got to be put to the test, and they're going to be put to the test this weekend. And if they're good enough to do all of those things, then they're good enough to go win in South Carolina, which is going to be a fist fight.
YouTube, so glad you showed up to the meeting. Hit that subscribe button or you're fired.